Hey, what's up everyone? How you doing? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Mem Daled of Masechta Shabbis. Today we're going to continue our exploration of muktza. Honestly, that's really all I can say right now. It's not too crazy of a daf. Smooth sailing. Let's do it. Cool. We're going to start in Daf Mem Daled Amud Aleph, about, 5 lines in or so? 2, 4, 5, 6 lines in, at the Mishnah. Metaltlin ner chadash, aval lo yashan, Reb Shimon Omer, kol haneres metaltlin, chutz min haner hadolek b'Shabbos. Okay, let's read that again. Metaltlin ner chadash, aval lo yashan. So the Tanna Kama says that you can move a ner chadash. What's a ner chadash? So remember, these candles that we've been talking about, these like lantern, lamp, kind of genie candles. So you have this candle, and it has never been used before, right? It's made out of earthenware. It's made out of cheres. It's never been used before. Totally new, sparkly new. You can move it on Shabbos. It's not muktza, right? Mistama, this is Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. And he says, look, as long as it hasn't been used before, so you can use it for other things. Just like Rabbi Yehuda said regarding a shofar, right? You can move a shofar on Shabbos because you can use it to give water to a baby. So, I don't know, I'm sure you could find all sorts of creative uses for a brand new candle. Avalo yashan. But once you have used this candle, then you can no longer move it. And as I think Rashi already explains on the Mishnah, because it becomes disgusting. Earthenware, I don't know, I don't have much experience with putting oil and lighting stuff in earthenware, but I remember even from a long time when I was a little boy, learning in school about you can't use an earthenware menorah on Hanukkah, I think, because it gets disgusting. I don't know. Never actually tried it out, but that's a reputation, at least in halacha, that earthenware has with regards to lighting flames in them. So it becomes disgusting. And therefore, it's what's called muktza machmas meus. It becomes muktza because it gets disgusting, okay? So that's Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. It's a Tanna Kama's opinion, but we're gonna see soon that it's Rabbi Yehuda, that he says, look, as long as you haven't yet used this candle, so it's not muktza. Once you use it, it becomes muktza because it gets disgusting, which is also interesting that there needs to be sort of a reason why it's muktza, it seems. Right? When it's not yet used, so it's a kli. Find whatever creative use you want for it. Once you've used it, it becomes muktza because now it's disgusting. It's muktza machmas meus. That's the reason why it's now muktza. As opposed to Rabbi Nechemia that we saw in the context of that shofar, right, where he says you can't use, a shofar is muktza on Shabbos, because Rabbi Nechemia would say that no, you can only use something for its specific use on Shabbos. And therefore I guess he would say, we don't see it in this Gemara, but I'm speculating that he would say, look, what do let's be honest, what are you going to be using this thing for? It's a candle. You're using it to light a candle. That's something that's muktza on Shabbos. You won't be able to use it. Anyways, these are speculations, but that's what I'm thinking. Reb Shimon Omer, whereas Reb Shimon says, kol haneres metaltlin, you can move whatever candle you want, chutz min haner hadolek b'Shabbos, just that you may not move a candle that is lit on Shabbos, right? So if it's Shabbos and the candle is currently burning, don't move it because you might extinguish it. Which is interesting. Why does he care if you extinguish it? It's melacha sheina, it's davar sheina miskabe, no? Which is mutter, but I don't know. But in any event, Reb Shimon says, look, as long as the candle is not lit, you can move it, whether it's been used, whether it hasn't been used, because he doesn't hold of muktza. So there is no concept of this thing being set aside or not. And therefore, you would be allowed to move it. Just if it's lit, then we have to be concerned about extinguishing. Okay, says the Gemara. Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, metaltlin ner chadash aval lo yashan divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Oh, here we go. So, Rabbi Yehuda says that you can move a candle that has never been used before. However, you may not use a candle that has been used before, because it's disgusting. Rabbi Meir Omer, says Rabbi Meir, kol haneres metaltlin. Rabbi Meir says you can move all of the candles. New, used, makes no difference. Chutz min haner shehadliku bo b'Shabbos. However, if the candle right? And Gos Vitzionim adds, but also Shabbos, meaning on that Shabbos. Meaning, according to Rabbi Meir, you can use whatever candle you want, right? You can move around whatever candle you want, whether it's been used, whether it's not used. However, there is one problem, which is if somebody actually lit that candle on Shabbos, because you're not allowed to light a candle on Shabbos. If somebody did light a candle, then you wouldn't be able to move it anymore. Because it would be muktza machmas isser. Okay, it would be muktza on account of the fact that something not allowed, something asur was done with it. That's what makes it muktza. Okay, that is Rabbi Meir's definition of muktza. But in terms of, if you had a candle and it was already used and it's disgusting, it doesn't bother him. That's not going to make it muktza. Muktza machmas meus isn't a thing for Rabbi Meir. Muktza machmas isser is a thing for him, right? If it's been used for something that's not allowed on Shabbos, that makes it muktza according to Rabbi Meir. Okay. Reb Shimon Omer says, Reb Shimon chutz min haner hadolek b'Shabbos. So Reb Shimon says you can move any kind of candle, but if it's lit currently on Shabbos, don't move it, because we're concerned that you might extinguish it. Again, I don't know why, because he holds davar she'eino miskaven in his mutter, but b'seder. Kav samutter l'taltala. Once the candle goes out, now you can move it again, because the candle itself is not inherently Tameh. Muktza. Right? The candle itself is not inherently muktza. When it's lit, you can't move it. Once it's no longer lit, do whatever you want. Okay? And then the Brisa continues. We're going to have to, the Gemara is going to kind of try to figure out what these next few words kind of have to do with anything. But, aval kos v'kayer v'ashashes lo yizizam imkomam. However, a cup, a bowl, or a lantern, do not move them. Now, we're going to have to figure out later, is this Reb Shimon? I thought Reb Shimon doesn't hold the muktza, or maybe it's not. We'll have to figure out these few words, but the Brisa says, but a cup, a bowl, or a lantern, do not move them from their place. Reb Elazar, Reb Shimon Omer, says Reb Shimon's son, Reb Elazar, mistapik min haner hakabe, if you have a candle that's already been extinguished, you can be mistapek from it. You can take the oil from it and use it, right? We saw that on daf. Oh no! Now I was a chafei on the base. Yeah. So we said on daf chafei on base. So this was actually Reb Elazar, Reb Shimon's son, Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. No, not Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. Reb Shimon ben Elazar. I think it was his son. It says Eimad likim b'tzori. Says you're not allowed to use tsori, which I think is balsam wax. Right? It was one of those 1,000 things that were balsam. So you can't light with this tsari because we're concerned that you might take from some of the wax and use it because it smells so good. Anyways, what were we talking about again? Oh, right. So Reb Elazar Reb Shimon says that as long as the candle has already been extinguished, you can take from the oil and use it for whatever you want, because there's no longer an issue of mechabe. Okay. Umin hashemen hametaftev vafilu b'shashen adolek. And you can also take from oil that is dripping from the candle, even if the candle is still lit, right? So you have this candle and it's lit. Remember, one of these genie lamp things. And the candle is still lit and there's some oil dripping out of it. So once the oil is no longer in the candle, well then you can use that, if let's say you're collecting it in some kind of a kli or something, so you can take it from the kli. And that's fine. There's no problem because it's not mechabe because it's not in, if you take it from the candle, so then you're shortening the life of the flame. But once it's already dripping out of the candle, well then it's already out. Okay. Amar Abaye, Reb Elazar Reb Shimon, Savila Kavua B'chada Ufalig Ale B'chada. So Abaye says, look, Reb Elazar Reb Shimon, he holds like his father Reb Shimon regarding one thing, and he disagrees with his father Reb Shimon regarding a different thing. Okay. So he holds like his father regarding one thing, which is delays le muktza, in that he doesn't hold of muktza, and therefore he says that once this candle goes out, well then whatever oil is left over you can use because it's not muktza. Okay. Yet he argues with his father regarding one thing, which is the ilu avua savar kava in lo kava lo. Okay? And he argues with his father. So now, if you remember from the end of the day yesterday, right? If we go back right before this Mishnah that we started with today, it says, Tanu Rabbanan, Mosar Hashem and Shebener v'Shebekayr Asav Reb Shimon Matir. That whatever oil is left in the candle or in a bowl is forbidden. You can't do anything with that leftover oil once the flame has gone out. Reb Shimon says you can. So the Gemara, Abaye wants to imply from here that Reb Shimon would say that you can only use the oil from a candle once it has gone out. Whatever's left over you can use. Whereas Reb Shimon, his son, Reb Lazar, Reb Shimon, his son, is saying that even while the candle is still lit, whatever oil drips out of it you can use. So Abaye wants to say that Reb Shimon would not agree with that. He would say you have to wait till the candle goes out. Okay, Seder. That's what Abaye wants to say. Let's go weiter in Shas. Now, the Brisa had continued and said, Aval kos v'kair v'ashashis lo yaziza mimkomam. So it would appear that this is a continuation of Reb Shimon. And Reb Shimon is saying that, you can move around any kind of candle as long as it's not lit. If it's lit, you have to wait until it goes out. Once it goes out, you can move it around again. But then he says, Aval, but kos v'kair v'ashashis, a cup, a bowl, or a lantern, lo yaziza mimkomam. Don't move those. How come? Ma'ishnahane. What's different about a cup, a bowl, and a lantern? Why are you not allowed to move those, yet you can move a candle? So Ula said, Seifa Asan Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, so Ula wants to say, this is Rabbi Yehuda's. This is Rabbi Yehuda. This isn't Rabbi Shimon saying this. This is Rabbi Yehuda saying this. Rabbi Yehuda holds up muktza, and therefore it's Rabbi Yehuda saying not to move a cup, a bowl, or a lantern. Maskefla Marzutra. Marzutra asks the kasha and Ula, Ihachi, my aval. If that's the case, then why does it say aval? Aval, but, sounds like it's a continuation of the same statement, right? Meaning, Reb Shimon is saying that you can move any candle that you want as long as it's not lit, but don't move a cup, a bowl, or a lantern. So it sounds like it's all Reb Shimon. Okay, well then we have to figure out, I thought Reb Shimon doesn't hold of muktza. What could possibly be wrong with a cup, a bowl, and a lantern? So Marzutra gives like an interesting kind of answer. I can't say I totally get it, but I don't know. We'll have to see. Amar Marzutra. So Marzutra answers, Le'olam Reb Shimon. Okay, so really this is all Reb Shimon. Okay, so what's wrong with a cup, a bowl, or a lantern? V'chikashai Reb Shimon. When Reb Shimon says that you can move around candles even once they've been extinguished, B'ner zuta d'daite ilave. So that is by a small candle. I light a candle Friday night. I assume it's going to go out at some point. And I also assume that whatever oil is left over afterwards, I can use. Right? Also, I can move around the candle. I wasn't expecting this candle to be lit all Shabbos. However, a cup, a bowl, a lantern, these stay lit for much longer. They're going to stay lit the entire Shabbos, you're assuming. And therefore, you certainly can't move them when they're lit because he's worried about mechabe for some reason. And once if they, in the chance that they do go out, you still wouldn't be allowed to move them because you assumed that they would be lit the entire Shabbos. Therefore, when they go out, it's like, you weren't ready for this situation, and therefore, it would sound like therefore they're muktza. But doesn't Rabbi Shimon not hold of muktza? So, yeah, I don't know. Does Rashi? What does Rashi say? Bezuta. Rashi says, right? Bezuta dedaite ale mi beod yom savar sheyichle hashemen maher v'shtamish b'ner l'chshiyava aval hani lo asik adaite sheyichabu kulam. Rabbi Shimon mat. Yeah, I mean, Rashi doesn't say anything about muktza. He doesn't say that Rabbi Shimon would therefore consider it muktza, but he is saying that since he had no intention to be using these bichlal, therefore he can't move them. I mean, it kind of sounds like a muktza kind of thing. So we have to keep that in mind in terms of Reb Shimon's, so on the one hand we know that Reb Shimon says, leis le muktza, right? Reb Shimon doesn't hold of muktza. Yet on the other hand, it doesn't just seem to be a free-for-all. There do seem to be situations where Reb Shimon would say that you can't move a certain thing on Shabbos. And we're going to see another example of this on Amud Beis. So, we're going to have to keep this in mind whenever we think of Reb Shimon leis le muktza. How exactly is he defining muktza or limiting muktza? I mean, I kind of wonder if you could say, like an example of something that Reb Shimon doesn't hold of muktza is chatzotzos, if you remember from like a few weeks ago, right? Chatzotzos. What the heck you can do with chatzotzos on Shabbos? We said by a shofar you can use it. You can use it as a bottle for a baby. Chatzotzos you can't do anything with it on Shabbos. And Reb Shimon says, yeah, but it's okay. You can move it because it doesn't have muktza. It's not like he specifically had intention, like, I'm not going to use these on Shabbos. I mean, it's something that we don't use on Shabbos because, like, we don't play music on Shabbos. Therefore, we don't use it. So, but it's not like, I'm lighting this lantern. There's no way that this lantern is going to be available for an entire Shabbos. I'm adding oil to it and lighting it. There's a lot of oil. There's no way. Like, he specifically he's thinking about it. He specifically has in mind that this thing will not be available the entire Shabbos. Probably doesn't even want it to be available the entire Shabbos. That's why he's putting a lot of oil in it. All of a sudden it becomes available, like that was not what he expected. Therefore he can't move it. Whereas chatzotzos, like, obvious, like, I don't know, he probably wasn't even thinking about, like, yeah, okay, fine, like, it's a musical instrument, like, I can't use it on Shabbos. But that doesn't necessarily make it muktza. I don't know. We got to figure this out. We got to, what does it mean? Does Reb Shimon just mean you can move whatever the heck you want? Wouldn't appear that way. Okay, fine. Okay, Ve'atanya Moser Hashem and Shebener v'Shebekayra also Reb Shimon Matir. But one second, don't we have that brisa that we quoted earlier, that same brisa from right before the Mishnah, that said that the oil that is left over in a candle or in a bowl, you may not use? Reb Shimon Matir. Reb Shimon says that you can use. So one second, if we just said that Reb Shimon says that because a bowl is so big, he doesn't have any intention to be using it at all on Shabbos, and then in the event that the flame does go out, you would be, so we said that you wouldn't be able to move the bowl because your intention was that it would be lit the entire Shabbos and it would be off limits. But we seem to be saying that if the flame goes out, you would be allowed to use the leftover oil from the bowl, even though your intention was probably not to use it at all the entire Shabbos. So my answer is Hasam Kaira Dumi Denera Kaira Dumi Dekos. Now, in the first brisa where we said that you can use the leftover oil, we said that it's talking about Moser Haner v'Kaira, right? What does it say? Moser Hashemen Shebener v'Shebekayra. We're comparing a bowl to a candle, i.e. it's small. And therefore, you did assume that the flame would go out, and that's why you can use the leftover oil, whereas over here, we're comparing it to a cup and a lantern. Those are much bigger, and that's why you can't move them, right? Hacha Kaira Dumi Dekos, it's a bowl that is similar to a cup, i.e. it can hold a lot more oil, and you weren't intending to use it at all on Shabbos, and that's why you can't move it. Fine. Amr Reb Zera, says Reb Zera, Pamot Shedliko bo b'Shabbos. So if you have this metal candelabra, okay, so now the thing about a metal candelabra is that it won't become disgusting like earthenware will. So there's no concern anymore for muktza machmas meus of Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, so there's a ledivrei amatir. So, according to Rabbi Meir, who would allow, muktza machmas meus is not an issue, right? So we said in our Mishnah that a candle, whether it's been used, whether it has not been used, you're allowed to move it as long as you didn't actually light it on Shabbos. So in this case, the Divrei Amatir, according to Rabbi Meir, who says that you would be allowed to use a candle that's already been lit, an earthenware candle that's already been lit, Aser. Here he says that you're not going to be able to move this metal candelabra because it was lit on Shabbos, Muktzah Machmas Isser. The Divrei Oser, whereas Rabbi Yehuda, who says that you would not be allowed to use an earthenware candle that has already been lit because it's Muktzah Machmas Meus, Mutter. In this case, you would be allowed to use the candelabra because it doesn't get disgusting because it's made out of metal. Okay? But one second. Are you saying that Rabbi Yehuda only holds of muktzah machmas meus, and therefore in a situation like this, when it's made out of metal, and it's not disgusting even though it's already been lit, you're going to be allowed to move it even though you lit it on Shabbos, because he doesn't hold at all of muktzah machmas iser ve'atanya, but we learn in a brayso, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, says Rabbi Yehuda, klaneris shel mateches, any candle that's made out of metal, okay, metaltalin, you are allowed to move it because, why not? It's not muktzah machmas meus. However, chutz min haner shedliku bo b'Shabbos, right? And Vitzionam again adds ba'oso Shabbos, with the exception being a candle that they lit that Shabbos. If you have even a metal candle, but it was lit on Shabbos, then you can't use it, according to Rabbi Yehuda. So we see that Rabbi Yehuda also holds of muktza machmas isser. So why are we saying that he would say that by this metal candelabra that was lit on Shabbos, you would be allowed to move it? So Eli Yitmar Hachi Yitmar. No, rather, if you're going to make this statement, you have to say it like this. Amr Reb Zera, says Reb Zera, Pamut Sheliku Olav b'Shabbos, that a metal candelabra that you lit on Shabbos, Divrei Kol Aser. Everyone agrees it's going to be Aser because of muktza machmas isser. Lo Liku Olav, if they didn't light it on Shabbos, well then Divrei Kol Mutter. Everyone's going to agree that it's mutter because it's made out of metal. There's no issue. It wasn't lit on Shabbos. It's not muktza machmas meos. Everyone would agree that you'd be allowed to move it. Okay. Amar Yehuda Amar Rav. Oh, said Rav Yehuda in the name of Rav. Mita. If you have a bed, sheyichad alemos, that you specifically set aside that this bed, for whatever reason, is where you're gonna, leave money. You're gonna leave money on this bed. Okay. Asur l'taltala. Well, then you can't move the bed anymore. That's it. You said, look, this bed I'm going to use for keeping money on it. Money, of course, is muktza. Therefore, on Shabbos, you can't move this bed. Maser Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Nachman bar Yitzchak, we said the other day, is the Mari de Uvda on Lam Zayin Beis. He's as Rashi said, medaktek b'maisav. He's very, particular about his actions to make sure that they were very good actions that he did. So this is Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. So Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, he asked the kasha. He says, 1 second. The Mishnah says that you're allowed to move a new candle, v'lo yashan, not a used candle, meaning, as long as you haven't yet used the candle, you could still move it. Umaner dilahachi avida, now a candle which is made for this purpose, it's specifically made to be lit as a candle, and yet, kilo hidlikba shari litaltula, and as long as you haven't actually lit it, you can still move it. Well then, mita, a bed, dilav lahachi avida, which isn't made to be storing money on it, it's made to be sleeping on. So lo kol shekain, then certainly wouldn't it remain not muktza until you actually store money on it? So eli itmar hachi itmar. Rather, if you're going to make the statement of Rav Yehuda, it's in the following way. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, mita sheyichad maos. So if you have a bed that you specifically set it aside to stash your money, hiniach olav maos asur l'tatala lo hiniach olav maos muter l'tatala. So once after you've set it aside for putting money on it, and then you've actually put money on it, zeh, that's it. It becomes, specific for your money forever. And it's going to be muktza on Shabbos, whether it currently has money on it, whether it doesn't, because this is a bed that's been set aside for putting your money on it, and it's been used for that purpose. However, if you have not yet put money on it, you've just set it aside for that purpose, but you haven't actually put money on it, muter l'tatla, you're going to be able to move it. Okay? Now, lo yichad alamos, if you didn't specifically say that this bed is from now on going to be where I stash my money, well then, yesh alei amos asur l'tatla, ein alei amos muter l'tatla. Well then, there's nothing inherently special about this bed. If it's Shabbos and there's money on the bed, well then you won't be able to move the bed because it's muktza. However, if next Shabbos there's no money on the bed, you'll be able to move the bed because there's no reason why you can't. You didn't specifically set it aside to always be for money. Okay? Whereas in the first case, when you set aside the bed to be used to stash your money, well then even if next Shabbos you don't have any money there, you still would not be allowed to use the bed since you set it aside to be for stashing your money, and you actually stashed their money, let's say this Shabbos, so the next Shabbos, even though there's no money, you won't be allowed to move it. Or even if you stashed money there during the week. But meaning the point is that once you set aside the bed to be used to stash your money, and you've actually stashed your money there at any point, then in the future, even if there's no money on it, you still can't move the bed. Okay? When we say that in the case of the bed that you did not specify that it was going to be used for money, there just happens to be money on it. So we say that you can't move the bed, but we say that if there isn't any money on it, then you would be able to move the bed. that's only as long as during the entire Bein Hashmashos there was no money on it. Meaning that the Bein Hashmashos plays an important role. That if the bed would have money on it during the entire Bein Hashmashos, well then even if somehow the money came off of the bed later, the bed would still remain muktza since the entire Bein Hashmashos there was money on it. Right? Remember, this is talking about a bed that was not specified to be used for money. It just happened to have money on it during the entire Bein Hashmashos. So even if the money falls off later, the bed remains muktza since there was money on it the entire Bein Hashmashos. Okay. Exciting stuff. Now, Amar Ula said, Masiv Rebbe Lazar. So Rebbe Lazar asked the kasha, Muchni. What's a muchni? So if you have a wagon, right? A wagon that people would ride in, back when people used to travel with horse and wagon. So people would sit in this wagon, and the wagon had wheels, and that's what this muchni is, okay? So the wheel of this wagon, bismanshi nishmetes, as long as you can remove the wheel from the wagon, kind of like the tires on our cars that you take off you unscrew it and you can take it off. Okay, so as long as you can remove the wheel from this wagon, well then ein chibur la, it's not considered connected to the wagon. And if the wagon is of a size that is capable of becoming tameh, well the wagon could become tameh and the wheels won't become tameh. And if you're trying to figure out if the wagon is a small enough size that it can still get tameh, well, you're not going to include the wheels in determining the size of the wagon. Okay? Okay? And if you're in a situation where, the wagon is going to create an ohel to protect the contents of the wagon from becoming tameh, for example, if you're in a cemetery, so then everything in the ohel, in this wagon, would be tahor. And then basically if you had some stuff sticking out of the top of it and the wheels are larger than the wagon, and you might think to say that the wheels going up and being the same height as whatever is extending on top of the wagon, the wheels would be able to consider it like that stuff is still in the ohel. It's saying that you wouldn't, because it's not, these wheels are not considered part of this ohel. Okay, fine. Part of this wagon. Okay, fine. Now here's the important part for us. And you're not allowed to move this wheel. I assume if it's disconnected from the wagon, I assume. Like if this wheel is disconnected from the wagon and there's some money resting on the wheel, you won't be able to move the wheel on Shabbos. Also, what do we see? Sharia. But if this wheel doesn't have any money on it, now remember, this isn't a wheel that's set aside for putting money on it. It's just a wheel that happens to have money on it. And we're saying if it happens to have money on it, you can't move it. But the implication being, if it doesn't have any money on it, you would be able to move it. Even if the money was on this wheel, the entire Bein Hashmashos, it makes no difference. What's important is if there's money on this wheel right now. This is the kasha on Rav Yehuda Marav. Because Rav Yehuda Marav says that if you have something like a bed that wasn't specified that it's only being used for stashing money, it's just a regular bed, and we said that if there's money on it during the entire Bein Hashmashos, then this bed is going to be muktza the entire Shabbos, even if that money somehow falls off, the bed remains muktza. Yet over here, we're saying that this wheel, what's important is if there's money on the wheel right now or not. And if there's no money on the wheel right now, then you can move it. Even if during the entire Bein Hashmashos there was money on it. So what's pshat? So here's an interesting answer. My answer is Ahi Reb Shimon hi Teleis le muktza. V'rav Reb Yehuda Sfirle. This brisa that's saying that what's important is if there's money on it or not, is Reb Shimon who doesn't hold of muktza. And therefore, even if the money was on the wheel during the entire Bein Hashmashos, it really doesn't matter. What does matter is if the money is on the wheel right now. And as long as the money is not on the wheel, you can move it. But if the money's on the wheel, then you won't be able to move it. But one second. If it's Reb Shimon and he doesn't hold of muktza, well then why is money, what's even the question? If he doesn't hold of muktza, well then money isn't muktza. And therefore who cares if there's money on it? I mean, this whole question becomes irrelevant. It doesn't hold of muktza, do whatever you want. Move it, don't move it, money, no money, who cares? So Rashi says something, the very bottom line of Rashi, in Dibra Maskala, he Reb Shimoni, Umiu manus lo chazi midi, umod Reb Shimon de Odin olav aser. However, money isn't fit for anything at all. And therefore, Reb Shimon would say, as if there's money on it, then it would be aser. So again, even though Reb Shimon doesn't hold of muktza, he seems to hold of muktza. Again, Rashi doesn't say muktza, but he says, however, it's not fit for anything, and therefore it would be usher to move this wheel as long as the money's on there. So, I don't know, maybe you can think about it like this, which is that, what's money? Money is unique in that it's all about the value that we apply to it. I'm not an expert when it comes to, financial theory, but you have a piece of paper. It's just a piece of paper. It's valuable because of the value that is attributed to it. But if it's Shabbos and money is irrelevant, you can't buy and sell things on Shabbos, well then there's really no innate, in a context where money is useless, it literally has no value. It's a piece of paper. It's some metal, right? It's the value that's attributed to it. But in a context where there's no value attributed to it, it's become completely worthless. As opposed to, let's say, something like the chatzotzros. So I can't use them on Shabbos because it's playing an instrument, but it still inherently has value. If for whatever reason I need to barter it, there's never going to be a context where these chatzotzros are going to be useless. If somebody needs to play something, then if somebody needs to play an instrument, it's going to have value. If they value that instrument, right, then you will be able to barter it for something like that. But some kind of random currency from some random place, it doesn't necessarily have any value. I don't know, whatever. So he says that, so this money on Shabbos as literally, what does he say? It's not chazi, it's not fit for absolutely anything. And therefore, even Reb Shimon would say that you wouldn't be allowed to move that. Okay. I don't know, we're seeing different contexts, different holes in this kind of theory. Whereas even though Reb Shimon doesn't hold of muktza, he would seem to, say that there are nonetheless times when you wouldn't be able to move something. Like when you had no intention of using this, bowl filled of oil with a wick in it the entire Shabbos because that was, you clearly put in enough oil so that you wouldn't be moving it at all on Shabbos, And here you have something that's completely valueless, but something like, a shofar. But what about the honeycomb from yesterday? We were talking about the honeycomb in the winter, that when there's only those 2 honeycombs left, and those are for the bees. So Reb Shimon would say that we were assuming that if it's Reb Shimon, it wouldn't be muktza. Again, you didn't do it, again, I think it would be fine. It's not like money where they're inherently valueless and, these honeycombs still are worth something. And also, it's not like you did anything to clearly to show your intent that you had no interest in using these honeycombs on Shabbos. They're just things that aren't useful, right? It's for the bees. It's not for us. Reb Shimon says, look, that's not going to be muktza. Whatever, I don't know. Maybe you guys have some ideas. Maybe you have some ideas brewing in maybe how we can understand Reb Shimon. But anyways, Rav holds like Reb Yehuda that he does hold of muktza, and that is why Rav says, look, Lemaisa, if this money is on the bed, the entire Ben Hashmashos, this bed is going to be muktza the entire Shabbos. Okay, fine. Hachanami Mistavra Zak the Gemara, that it also makes sense to say Rav Yehuda, Rav Yehuda Svirle. It also makes sense to say that Rav holds like Reb Yehuda, i.e. That muktza is a thing. To Amar Rav, because Rav said, Manicha ner al gabi dekel b'Shabbos ve manicha ner al gabi dekel b'Yom Tov. You can leave a candle on a tree on Shabbos, but not on Yom Tov, right? Meaning, if I light a candle before Shabbos, I could put it on the branch of a palm tree on Shabbos, because since the candle is going to be muktza, I'm not concerned that I'm going to move the candle and then play with the tree on Shabbos. Because there's a candle on the tree, the candle is muktza, I'm going to stay away. However, on Yom Tif, I'm allowed to use the candle, right? I can use it to light a fire or whatever it might be. So, I'm allowed to move the candle. And therefore, there's a concern that I might move the candle and then use the tree. So therefore, we say just don't light a candle on the tree on Shabbos, just stay away from the tree. No, not Shabbos, on Yom Tif, just stay away from the tree, okay? So now, Iyamad Bishlama, Derav Kureb Yehuda Svirle, Hainu Deshani Ben Shabbos Liyom Tov, Eli Amart Kureb Shimon Svirle, Mali Shabbos Mali Yom Tov, right? Now, it makes sense if you say that he holds like Rabbi Yehuda, that there is muktza. And because there's muktza, on Shabbos, this candle is going to be muktza, so therefore it's no problem to leave it there because you're going to stay away from the tree because the candle is muktza. But on Yom Tiv, where you'd be allowed to move this candle, well, therefore we have to be concerned that you might move the candle and play with the tree. But if you hold like Reb Shimon, who doesn't hold like muktza, well then it doesn't matter. Shabbos or Yom Tiv, we should still have the same concern that you might move the candle and play with the tree. And I guess, so now we're saying that Reb Shimon would say that this candle, right, wouldn't be considered muktza because the candle is small and you assume that it's going to come out, it's going to, go out after a few hours or whatever it is. And therefore, when it goes out, you'd be allowed to move it on Shabbos. Okay, fine, very good. Yeah, interesting page today, right? Daf Mem Daled. All about muktza, which is, I think, an interesting topic in general because, it's like so baked into modern Shabbos. And we got to explore, go a little bit deeper into what muktza really is, according to not just Reb Shimon, but Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda as well. So let's just go over that. So Rabbi Yehuda says that we saw Rabbi Yehuda had this concept of muktza machmas meus, right? That you have a candle, as long as it hasn't been used yet, you can do whatever you want with it. If you can find some creative purpose, great. But once you've used it, it becomes muktza because it's disgusting. Right? The earthenware gets disgusting, it's muktza machmas meus. Rabbi Meir adds a new concept, which is muktza machmas iser. Right? As far as Rabbi Meir is concerned, the fact that it's disgusting, who really cares? Right? What's a problem is if you light the candle on Shabbos, then you did an iser with it, so then it's muktza machmas iser. Rabbi Shimon doesn't hold a muktza. Yet, there seems to be some holes in the armor over there. But he did say that when it comes to like a big bowl or a lantern or a cup that's filled with oil, that it's going to stay lit the entire Shabbos. I don't know if he would call it muktza necessarily, because he doesn't hold a muktza, but he would say you can't move it because it was out of your, you had specific intention that you weren't planning to use it the entire Shabbos. Something happened, the flame went out, whatever it is, you still can't move it. And he also says that by money also, you wouldn't be able to move this wheel that has money on it because, money is not fit for absolutely anything on Shabbos. Okay, fine, interesting. Okay, we also saw the concept, which we also saw, I think 2 days ago or something like that with Rabbi Abau, that, when something is muktza the entire ben hashmashos, it would remain muktza the entire Shabbos. So that's an interesting concept that came up. We'll see how that plays out over time. But yeah, friends, that's Daf Mem Daled of Masechta Shabbos. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Have a great, great, great day or night or whatever. Bye.